Well, yeah, I guess if E8, I guess maybe no more jazz music.
I feel like
I like it.
I've always been
I'll
here.
bring it down. Yeah, we've all lived here forever. We've always been at war with E3.
Technically, I guess it started on Saturday.
I guess. Joel just started laughing for no reason.
He thinks Saturdays are funny.
Oh yeah, Saturdays are pretty funny. It is today. It is Sunday. Today's Monday. It's late. I'm gonna cut off these armbands.
As Pau Jerome in the chat says, it is extremely 3 a.m.
It's extremely...
Not here, but it's extremely midnight.
I live on the East Coast.
And I live in the Midwest.
So, it's not the time it seems like it is.
What are you doing?
I've been to a lot of press conferences.
You chose to do this now?
Podcast needs a geyser of blood
which means,
right now.
Which means I have 30 different armbands, and I'm cutting them off.
Cut from the back of the room.
40 Swiss cheese is asking, this is going to be in the podcast feed. Yes.
Yes, this is going to be in the podcast feed. If you have to go to bed...
This is a podcast.
This is a podcast. There it goes. We're going to talk about Microsoft today. We're going to talk about PlayStation by Sony. We're going to talk about the way that we put our hands on those things and played some video games. We want to start at? You want to start at Sony?
Yeah, that was one of the more recent things.
That's the most...
That
only feels like it was 2 days ago.
Yeah. I can't believe how long E3 has been already.
I was up since 3 in the morning. Which
not because of E3. Well, sort of because of E3. Well,
these appointments are getting weirder and weirder every year. Why were you up at 3?
So yesterday at a certain point, I started taking my hydration very seriously, but only craft beers, I guess. And at around 3 in the morning, I got really, really thirsty. And, funny thing, like, when you just pound a bunch of water, it kind of wakes you up.
Oh, yeah, you get that good water in you.
Yeah, and then you're like, all right, time to clean my apartment. Time to do laundry. Time to make a batch of pasta to see me through this week.
All the things I think of during E3 week, like, here's how I get ready for E3.
Pasta. Gotta get that pasta. What type of pasta are you cooking?
Okay, so it was orecchietta with rapini and Italian sausage.
You didn't bring some.
Yeah, what is this?
Like, if you made enough pasta, then you made enough pasta for everyone.
I didn't see you up at 3 in the morning.
Oh, well, you didn't ask.
Yeah, we were here.
You think I wouldn't have gotten up for that pasta?
Going through the cupboards. Where's the pasta? I don't know. Rob must have took it. Sony happened this evening.
Sure did.
It did.
At a place that I've already forgotten the name of.
The Shrine.
The Shrine. Auditorium. Yeah, which is near the Galen Center. You and I were about to hop into a cab.
Yeah.
And go somewhere else. I was like, all right, where are we going? Over there. And I'm like, oh, we can
That was the most lavish setting for a YouTube playlist I think I've ever seen.
Holy
shit. They've held it at the Shrine Auditorium before. They did that last year.
To be fair, it was a very extravagant YouTube playlist. Cirque du Soleil was there.
I liked the part where there was the screen showing the thing you're about to watch, and then a second screen started rolling in showing the same thing.
I don't know how that plays, because in the last 2 years I've been at the Sony event, and largely in the last couple of years I haven't gone to those because of the way I've covered them in different outlets, but there is something about the way Sony does it that in the room, it's very fucking cool.
I'm not sure if I believe that.
Me? Or like generally as a concept?
Me. I don't know that I think it's cool. I think it has the effect of being cool on everyone else in that room except for me, maybe. There's a couple moments that really worked for me.
Yeah. And
if I'd been in the audience last year when they had that live orchestra the whole time through, I bet that would have worked for me.
Yeah.
But largely, the Sony conference, and we'll dig in and we'll kind of dig into some of the bigger moments. It made me realize that there is a house style for many of the Sony
We talked about this a lot the moment we walked out.
And it's not a house style that I particularly like, and it's not because I think it's bad. It's just not for me. And I never felt that so clearly as this conference.
It's the increasingly seems like the Naughty Dog house style, like a certain approach to these like story-based games. That there were just a lot of them that felt like even God of War, Days Gone,
right?
Obviously there was Uncharted Lost Legacy at the top, but
Horizon Zero Dawn. Like many of the first party games felt like they were cut from the same directorial cloth, the same basic style, almost in a way that you could imagine certain eras of television feeling very similar, or like an HBO house style to some degree.
This is how we make games.
Right, and that's not...
It's not a criticism as much as you
They found a way that works for them.
Yes, it works for a lot of people.
And it works for a lot of people, and I'm not dissing those people, but it's just one of those events that was like, oh, like, this stuff might just not be for me, and that's okay. That needs to be okay. But let's start. I mean, it starts right away with Uncharted Lost Legacy. Yeah. Which is, did they open on Uncharted Lost Legacy? Yes, they did.
Yes.
Because I was like, what is this?
We thought it was God of War.
We did, because there was an axe and a bow and arrow, and it was old, and they were talking about Ganesh. And I was like, oh well, maybe he's gonna fight Ganesh now. I don't know what Kratos has got up to these days. And in fact, it was not. It was Lost Legacy, which stars 2 Uncharted fan favorites.
Yeah, side characters.
Chloe definitely is, right? And then what's the
mercenary lady?
What's the mercenary lady?
Mercenary lady.
Claudia.
Uncharted 4 is
Claudia Black is the actress. What is her name? Anyway.
She's the one who kicks everyone's ass in the latest Uncharted.
And there's a trailer for that, and the crowd went wild.
Well, the Naughty Dog games, look good.
Nadine.
They perform well for trailers, especially.
Yes.
But I didn't particularly care for Uncharted 4, generally speaking, even though Uncharted 1 was interesting. I really liked Uncharted 2 as sort of the magic trick that they sort of perfected, and they have continued to sort of build on as these sort of cinematic Hollywood
high spectacle
mediocre combat, where I would actually argue bad combat. Whereas The Last of Us, I thought actually had I enjoyed the combat in Last of Us. I thought that was a much better pairing of what they do, and so every time I say I'm not gonna play that one, I will probably still play Uncharted Lost Legacy. I find the characters interesting, and the fact they're putting 2 women in the spotlight to be what is that going to be like? Totally. What are they going to do with that?
I like them having beef with each other, right? It's pretty immediate.
They have very interesting personalities.
Yeah, right. Nadine, who's this no nonsense mercenary, is there to get a job done. And the other character whose name I've already forgotten.
Chloe is kind of your amoral adventurer.
Right, adventurer who gets kind of chewed out for being a cultural appropriator of this is our fucking heritage, says some dude to her. You're just trying to make bank, and that's not chill. And she's like, you gotta get paid. And that's my Chloe impersonation. How's that? Does that work?
It works.
I like that those characters are being explored in that way, and they're butting heads. And again, I'm not the person who needs to be happy about this, but it seemed okay.
I am happy about it.
Good.
I actually am that person who's usually I am always there for the growing Uncharted universe and the
UU.
God damn it! Sort of the extended web of characters and relationships that exist in that universe. What I like about this one is, for once, it's not going to be driven by that really tired Drake. Right. You think you're a good man, but what if you're not? You're at war with yourself, Drake. And he's like, damn it, I'm at war with myself. I really shouldn't do this, but
I'm going to kill 300 people.
And then lose something I know I shouldn't.
Yeah.
Should I tell my wife this really improbable, easily discoverable lie? Even though she's been cool with no, you know what? Easier just to lie and just see where this takes us. Yeah. So it's cool to actually have 2 characters who, at least in that sense, aren't at war with themselves. These are 2 characters who are
I am the person I am. God damn it. And I'm at war with this other person who I have to work with.
Yeah, and now it's a buddy road trip comedy starring 2 women.
Maybe I'll try it. Yeah. Maybe I'll give it a shot. Horizon Zero Dawn is getting DLC with the Frozen Wilds.
Looks good. It seems like
it's snowed in that building when that happened, by the way. There's snow.
Yeah, there was stuff in our hair.
For a minute, I thought it was just really dusty.
Also, can I just real quick put some motherfuckers on blast?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who it was. I don't know if were they working. That wasn't official, right?
No, those are just people.
Was it an influencer? Was that?
They were influencing our anger.
All right, so Patrick and I were sitting stage right.
Not all the way right, but towards most of the way right.
Most of the way up. And someone was just sitting, taking video of the people in front of us.
Their reactions.
Right. They were doing a live reaction cam.
And they were with the brightest goddamn light.
Brightest light on in the dark theater. They're in my fucking eye the whole time.
I had to hide behind their heads so I didn't get the light in my eyes.
Don't do that. I remember what you look like. I'm gonna be mean to you at some point in my life.
Or at least give the energy out that I want something mean to happen to you.
People need favors sometimes. Build relationships. Don't put bright lights in people's eyes. There's already enough bright lights at that fucking show. It's just not a good look. Anyway.
So wait, was that did you manage to suss out whether that was Sony's camera crew?
I don't think it was Sony's.
Definitely not.
Oh, so it was just like some shitty...
Yeah, some bloggers.
Like,
but I don't even mean that to be pejorative. Like, it's just
don't
some
do
people.
it. Don't do it.
No, but it's an event that a lot of people are there. It's their experience, and now you are making it all about you.
Right, and that's exactly right.
That's an asshole move.
And I don't even know if to blame the person behind the camera, because they might just be doing their job.
They might just be doing their
job. Might be those two assholes.
Who are like,
they
hey,
might be the
sure
assholes. They're like, hey, put on that light, get these reaction shots.
We got these reaction shots. Show people how I'm reacting.
And you know what? That person was doing their job.
They were. I don't know who to be mad at. I'm mad at somebody.
Just mad.
I'm just...
And then they stopped.
They stopped. I think... So there was a bit where one of the people went, like... leaned back in their chair, and I was like death glare on the person with the camera, just like, and then walked away. Like, yeah, okay, good. Horizon Zero Dawn's getting an expansion, the Frozen Wilds.
It looks good.
It seems to be about one of the tribes that didn't get a lot of focus.
You only spent like
there's one quest
minutes.
There.
There's one quest,
and it's really interesting.
Yeah, it's a culture that they've essentially like learned to coexist with. The creatures, and it's not explained like
how
why or how this works. And it felt very much seeing this expansion that was made. That culture was so interesting in the context of that world that it seems like this was something like they at some point thought like we can't build this in time to get this game out.
Yeah.
But either way, even if that's not even true, I'm glad because this would have been the culture that I thought I want to see.
I want to see more of that.
8 more
I'm
hours
curious
of
if it's post game. I'm curious if it's
because if it is like after the events of the original game, it would be yes.
Way more likely. So
I hope so, but they haven't said too much about or if they did.
There was no date on that, was there?
This year.
Okay.
Yeah, this year.
One of only a few things.
That's true. One of the only few things for 2017.
Speaking of things that are not this year, Days Gone, which I keep wanting to say is called Days Gone By, and it's not called Days Gone By.
That's book one of
what's that?
Kirkman's Walking Dead.
Oh, you're totally. Oh, yeah. Wow, it is. That's interesting.
And thematically, it doesn't look that different from book one of Kirkman's Walking Dead in some ways.
I feel like that the main outpost that the character starts out in is like a little denser or a little more vibrant than like people seem to have already figured out how to deal with these things. You build a wall and you hold them back.
I think that's a little generous. Like that was a pretty flimsy barricade.
Yeah, but it worked. That was one of the weird. We'll talk about it. So Days Gone. Zombie game. They debuted it last year in 2016.
From Sony Band, the studio that used to work on like Siphon Filter.
You're like a 1%er, like a biker 1%er, not like a rich person who's surviving the apocalypse and is they're zombies and you got friends.
Specifically, it is zombies, but they are going for the like World War Z. Like if you saw that film, like part of one of its World War Z's sort of like take on zombies was like mass quantities of zombies, like not it's like
a river
10,
of zombies.
Not 20. Yeah, like enough zombies. Like that scene in World War Z where like the zombies are stacking on top of each other in order to get over a wall. Like they are trying to create a crowd, like a swarm of zombies. And in the demo they did last year, and the demo they did this year. The idea of a Far Cry systemic driven game in which
has those zombie swarms.
That has those zombie swarms in which like a lot of what you're doing is manipulating a swarm and like to do here's an outpost. How do you want to fuck with them with this swarm?
And that doesn't seem.
I don't know.
We have no idea.
That's what I hope. But my not cynicism, but my expectation is that it's going to be very limited, controlled. Not that you'll only have one option, but you're only going to have a handful of options, and they're not systemic driven. They're just like the hordes are going to come in from this gate you blow up, or from this latch
where you
break off,
or the bait that you leave, or whatever. Right,
and that could still be cool,
but I'm just not here for that sort of cool right now. Like State of Decay 2 is at the show, right? Like, and that's a game that does have a degree of systemic interaction. That's the stuff that's like tickling my fancy right now when it comes to games. Is like, oh wow, this thing happened I didn't expect, or like, oh, I figured out a solution to this thing that made me feel like I was being, intuitive or clever, and I'm never gonna feel clever in this specific style of action game.
But also the way Sony, so if we're talking about like Sony establishing sort of a house style for these sort of story-driven games, they also have a house style for how they present games.
Yes.
So like there is a world, like if I want to live, like the Earth I want to live on, is that their house style for presenting the game is to show like, here's the cool, like, interesting ways this stuff can play out.
Right.
But that maybe in the game, and I'm actually going to see the game this week.
Right, I'm curious
in
about
a less hopefully in a less controlled fashion.
Right.
And maybe there'll be a sense of, like, how this actually plays out in the game.
Yeah,
itself.
like maybe there will be UI when you see it.
Right, exactly.
And
like,
it will be like,
maybe all of a sudden you'll realize like, holy shit,
So,
like there's all this stuff going on
that
in the
totally
world.
is what happened with the Horizon demo 2 years ago. Was in the main show floor or in the main presentation demo, it was like, oh, this is the one way you get through this thing. And then when they showed us behind closed doors, like, here are all the tools that you have at hand.
Yep.
You set these traps. You could, use this. You could steal this gun from the back of the T-Rex thing, the Thunderjaw, like, and that turned out to be true in that game. I still think the style of storytelling in that game and the style of main plot line action sequences was a little more scripted than my personal taste. But I'll take Horizon Zero Dawn over Uncharted style any day, and I'm hoping Days Gone is more Horizon, less Uncharted in style of combat.
Even if it's not like all the way Far Cry.
Totally.
But it is more in that direction.
And it's an open world game, we think.
It certainly seemed like the way they were running around didn't make it seem like I have to go to this spot.
Right, exactly. But then they get there and it's that storytelling style again.
Yeah, I mean, I think what concerns me, like, there are ways you can make it sort of a non-linear world in some ways. It's not a corridor.
Right.
But you are still going to, like, your story node, at which point you're funneled very tightly.
Totally. Yeah.
And that's sort of what you saw happening is, like, look, he's driving on the stretch of highway. Oh, it's an open world.
There's some dogs.
You see stuff. Yeah, there's things mangling.
There was dogs chasing you.
Yeah. And then...
And maybe there's some side stuff on the way to, like, maybe in, like, the actual game, it's like, well, we did this story mission in 5 minutes, but, like, this could be 90 minutes if you're doing all the other stuff.
Zombie Bear, second time. First one was in Metro Exodus.
I'm into Zombie Bears.
Zombie Bears having their year here at E3 2017. Come get it.
Someone in the chat says Brad at Giant Bomb was told it was open world.
Okay, well, there we go.
So that's cool.
That's cool. Speaking of open world things, speaking of the word world, Monster Hunter World.
Yes.
That, to me, is my favorite thing I've seen here. And at Sony.
It's fascinating for a lot of reasons.
Yes. What are those reasons?
Well, one, like, so when Monster Hunter launched on PS2, like, it was like a much more realistic style of graphics.
The first Monster Hunter.
Yes. And since then, it's become like a primarily handheld franchise that is
big success on the PSP.
Yeah, PSP, the
3DS.
Skip the Vita.
No Vitas?
Didn't really do the Vita because it jumped to Nintendo platforms at that point.
Right. There was a Wii U version.
Yes, there was a Wii U version, but even the Wii U versions were up-res, like tweaked versions of largely a 3DS game. And like people have always
almost like Pokemon.
Yes, actually a lot like Pokemon.
Yeah,
and like people have been hoping for them to say, look, okay, take this core of Monster Hunter, which I think is appealing to a lot of people,
right?
But like make it like a console-ass console game, like give it like amazing graphics and like build it from the ground up. And it seems like they are building that game.
Yeah. There were grappling hooks?
Grappling hooks, yeah. Like taking advantage of like what you can do, like
when you're not like this.
Yes. Clawing or
what's the claw?
I don't know what it looks like.
Here's the thing for me is like I have not played a Monster Hunter game because I've dipped my toes in, right? And I've been excited that
I've wanted to get into that series and played enough of one of the Wii ones, whatever the Wii U, Monster
Hunter or something.
And I saw it, like I saw it in the distance. Like I got far enough in that I was like, I could go there.
Right.
I'm not going to,
but
I could go there. Because it was like 40 hours away.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the thing is, I've always liked those games.
Or I didn't have the crew to get me there. Right. I think like playing with a crew is vital.
Yeah, well, like the thing about those games I've always loved the idea of is like preparation, learning how to play the game results in success. Like learning the specifics of how to execute maneuvers, what the strategies are.
Trapping.
It's the Witcher fantasy for me too. It's like I know how to deal with a Noon Wraith. I know how to deal with a weird T-Rex that shoots fire at me. And like that game leans into it even harder than The Witcher does. Because it's not just, I use Erden or whatever the thing is. Yeah. It's like, okay, well I need to have the specific weapon type.
Witcher's all about preparation, right? But the actual execution of like combat is pretty simple and like just okay.
Right.
Where like Monster Hunter like is an extended sequence in which like you are there's a constant tension between like preparation and then improvisation, and then trying to continue to like.
And so I hope this does that well. I'm I don't know details about it. Like, I want to know.
It's early 2018 though, so like this game is really far along theoretically.
Was its aesthetic consistent with the other Monster Hunter?
Much more realistic.
Yeah.
Because I did not love.
Or maybe not realistic, but like.
Not as
I don't know what
colorful. Like there were no.
It's not like grimdark like Monster Hunter.
But
like it's still fantastic.
But you have to remember, like in the current Monster Hunter games on the 3DS, you get little cute cats who follow you around in oversized armor, and they help you cook.
But you're still cooking food in this game, like kind of goofily. And when he runs, like he runs like a doofus, like.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd be into that. It's just like okay, you can make a sword only so big in a game.
Can you?
No, like seriously, no. That like
if you make a sword too
Guts
big,
in Berserk wouldn't have touched that thing.
Here's what you gotta understand, Rob. If you
but
make a sword too big to hold in human hands, it's time to get hands that aren't human.
That thing was the biggest pizza slicer I have ever seen.
I was saying, what if Monster Hunter, but also mech suits?
Well, hold on, that's a different game. So now you're just in the counterfactual here.
Yeah, you're damn right.
Yeah,
that's how I live.
Welcome to, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Welcome to Waypoint.
Dream with me for a minute.
What if this?
We got real shit. We don't gotta dream no more. All right. What else? Oh, speaking of big things. Speaking of hands that are bigger than humans, Shadow of the Colossus is coming to PS4.
Yes.
It looked really good.
Yes.
Is this
and also, I'm glad it's not a sequel.
Me too.
Because when it started, we sitting there going
like,
wait,
what the fuck is
that game doesn't need a sequel. I'll play a sequel.
I will play a sequel.
Or like, I play a sequel in the sense that like, the idea of scaling like enormous monsters, which Shadow of the Colossus appeals to me.
Yes.
To
and
do
that art style and...
Yes.
But
I don't actually want a sequel to that game. And so, but the idea of one, the PS3 game, which was given a HD update on the PS3, but I still think a lot of people missed that. And I think it also was what they're doing with this is not just like a 4K 60 FPS. Like, it seems like they're looking at the game and like really trying to update it aesthetically in ways that I thought they nailed the look.
It's
like,
gorgeous.
It looked good.
It looks so good. I have people been complaining about it or saying it doesn't look good. We've like missed the discourse because we were inside that theater.
Yeah, we didn't even have LTE.
Oh my god, we could just react purely to something rather than like have our opinion shaped.
No, it's just shaped, Rob. It's just shaped by what we assume the opinion has been based on 30 years of hearing people complain about things or love them.
I thought it was really a gorgeous trailer.
Yeah,
like it's what I want out of an update for that kind of game. It was expressive and mournful in all the right ways. And I think I like that at this point it doesn't have to pretend to, like, it assumes you already know the trick, right? That like this is ultimately a really bleak game.
Yes, you're totally, and it was able to sell itself on the bleakness instead of selling itself on a power fantasy or a mystery. It's like, no, like, remember how fucking sad this is, but good sad?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I do.
Get excited to be sad.
Yeah, and I am. So,
and I'm excited to fight some monsters.
That's also 2018?
Yes.
Another 2018. 2017, next up, Call of Duty World War II. Again.
No swastikas.
No swastikas. That, to me, is the takeaway from that, because I'm me.
You know what game has swastikas?
Yo.
Wolfenstein.
I guess maybe, like, trademark swastikas, and, like, Call of Duty was like, oh, shit.
Wolfenstein got him. We got these crosses.
Oh god, it's weird that like it's it's one thing if this game is pushing itself as like, look, we understand, like, obviously like, Germany swastikas, Nazis, huge part of this conflict, like unavoidably part of this conflict, but we are going to like turn the camera over here, but instead it just
like in other words, if it was a game set in the Pacific Theater or a game set in North Africa, there was still Nazis, but like
but like if they were some way of like contextualizing, like, yes, but we're doing this. Instead, it weirdly comes across as they're ignoring.
So, okay, to be fair, I don't know how often you saw a swastika on a World War II.
No, but to be clear though, there are sequences in this trailer today that have red banners that have crosses instead of swastikas.
Well, then,
and this is also following on with sources have told us no swastikas in this game.
Yeah, and also it's like no Nazis, like an avoidance of that as like a context.
And I bring this up mostly because of the context that you just introduced, which is New Colossus last night, the Wolfenstein New Colossus, the sequel to New Order, and also a comment that I think it was Chris Plant made to us this morning at the Microsoft hands-on event, the showcase. I think it was Plant, which was, or no, it wasn't. It was Pat, the video guy at Polygon Patrick.
Did you almost just pick
the
up
man?
and drink
He almost drank our recorder.
Cool.
Yep.
That would have been bad. And so Patrick,
Pat, please retweet.
Right. Yes. Please retweet. Of course, fame. Yeah. Please retweet that Toad wearing fucking diaper.
Looking
diaper.
good.
Yeah.
Is it an adult diaper? Okay. He was like, it's the only game it's the only World War II game, Wolfenstein, that makes you understand that conflict in terms of ideology. Mm-hmm. It makes you understand World War II is about ideas and about a conflict of those ideas that are given material form through military conflict. And also, you dual wield shotguns and like blow people up, and there's like robot dogs and shit. But like fundamental to that game is the ideology that some people, that the ruling power believes that some people are better than others, and then and this is me now kind of vibing off that, is that in the pitch for a new Colossus, they make the claim that like, hey, guess what? Like that is not like only a thing that the Nazis believe. That is at home here too. And if the Nazis had won, they would have built on that and come to America, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Deeply filled with ideology. And I know I don't need every game to be ideological. I'm not here to say that.
But also, like, part of what makes it seem odd is that, like, what is the story of this game?
Right.
Like, is its whole pitch just like, look, we know you hated space. Like, here's World War II again. Please, like.
But also, not actually it's World War II, but like with some of the hard edges sanded off.
I just don't know what this game is. Like, if the whole pitch is just like, hey, it's been long enough, we made another World War II game. That seems like a weak pitch.
Entire thing was a little bit incoherent. Like,
yeah.
I mean, like, what's the vision of this game other than just like high-ass res World War II?
Right, totally.
So it sort of seems to me like the original Call of Duty games like had a very clear idea. They were sort of the first games, which isn't really true because Medal of Honor, which they made, was the same. But it was this idea that you were one soldier among many. You taking place in these battles. You were taking part in these battles. Modern Warfare also has a clear pitch, right? It is, sort of the Hollywoodified version of very resonant contemporary military conflict. This seems like
down to the futility of it occasionally, right? Like the first Modern Warfare is like, this is all fucked.
It's
from all
one
sides,
disaster
man.
to another.
Yes.
Like, it literally, the first scene with the SAS paratroopers is like, the Americans didn't go in.
Yeah.
They shouldn't go in.
Should not go in.
They're going to go in. And then it's a debacle. Yeah. This seems like all the bombast of like your late era Call of Duty. Without, so going back to that theme of it doesn't even seem to really know that it's about World War II. Right. Because it's sort of recycling familiar settings of World War II, but now like divorced from even any kind of like military narrative.
Right.
It's like, what the hell? Like, who are you? What unit are you with?
Yeah.
Where are you fighting?
Who knows? And I expected that pitch to be made somewhere.
They show like Ardennes.
Not the original reveal. Not here. Like instead, it's just more like, here's cool
World War II
high res ass World War II.
And I'm like, I don't know.
Did I see
it's a bummer.
African American infantry
totally.
unit?
Yeah, you did. He was just mixed in there with other people.
It did not look like he was part of a segregated unit.
No.
That was so. I was like, that would have been a cool game to like sort of like tackle that reality. But instead of just sort of seeing,
and maybe it does, and maybe like the marketing is so divorced from what's happening in the game, but.
Yeah, that is always a possibility. It's always a possibility that someone cut a trailer who is not involved closely with the story of the game or whatever, right? Like. But then I'm judging that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes.
And I also, so the big one, the thing that I actually skipped from the Patrick Gill, his last name was Gill, quote earlier, not quote, but the conversation we had was most games treat World War II like two teams fighting, like just a fight between two sides. And what Wolfenstein did was like, no, it's a fight between people who have fundamentally different ideologies about the world. And this feels so much like two sides, two teams are fighting over a flag. And like, you can't pitch me, this is the most realistic, we're going back to hard realism, and also it's not a real thing.
But I kind of feel like this is also what happens when you've gotten so used to selling ridiculous sci-fi, like high-concept stories.
Right.
And then you go back, and how do you make, like, huddling in a slit trench in a hedgerow sexy again? Right. And I think there are ways to tell those stories, right? But that is more of a Band of Brothers direction. That's more of a...
I would say that's what like Brothers in Arms was trying to do.
Totally. And that's the thing is, like, maybe this game will have that sort of an ideology, which is about
very unique perspective, like a very specific perspective of some soldier for his part of that.
Totally.
But it was concerning.
Yeah.
You know what else was concerning? Going fishing. Those fish were too big. Those Final Fantasy fish, they were so big. What if they eat you? What if that big fish eats me?
I like the fact that VR game that they showed last year was so bad they just said, nope. Fishing.
We were just fishing. Just wholesome fishing with your buzz.
But then VR, I played that VR game last year. It was one of like
the most... the Cindy one?
That's part of it. So it was a shooting gallery.
Final Fantasy 15 VR is what we're talking about.
Yes. And like what they showed last year when the PSVR was being rolled out was like this really awful shooting gallery that ended with you being in a car with Cindy and being able to, like, almost universally when I was watching people in front of me play the game, like doing really like unnerving, but not unexpected. Well, you're like sitting in the regala like with her, and then just.
Where is she in this? She's here in this situation?
Yeah, in front of her on his computer.
Patrick. Okay. Oh, Lord.
And they just like, the response was so negative. They just threw it out and said, let's make a fishing game.
Yeah.
Which, like, it looks goofy as hell. I'm not going to play it.
I'm not going to play that. It was like, we looked at each other like, I'll play that. And like, no, you won't.
No.
Be honest.
In the moment when like the trailer was trying to sell me, I was like, that's the... I was in it for... Like, I liked the tone.
Yeah.
It was part of the tone that I liked in Final Fantasy 15 that I wanted more of.
Totally.
But I don't... Like, that fishing game didn't look good.
Austin.
Hey, bud.
Imagine you're going on a real-ass fishing trip with those good boys.
Good boys.
And in between the fishing...
Yeah, I'm imagining it.
There are long, very real conversations about hopes,
dreams also.
And aspirations.
I got all those.
With all those characters.
Gladio is just there.
Hours of dialogue and monologues.
Pompey.
I'm just like...
Ignis and my best boy, Scrattle.
That's not his name.
Scrattle?
Who's photographer
boy?
Boy?
That's Princeton.
Prompto.
Okay.
Pompeo.
Noctis.
Yep.
Was that all of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Scrattle.
Scrattle.
My boy Scrattle. Scrattle DLC's coming.
Okay. I'm holding out for that Scrattle DLC. The best boy. The one in my mind. OC, do not steal.
Last DLC, Scrattle. Best boy.
Is that it? Do we have anything else to say? Okay,
no,
actually,
fuck that game.
PSVR generally, they then went into a huge reel of PSVR, which I don't know if this played for home. They did a weird effect for like, this is a VR game, where they had the main screen that showed the game, and then just like a bunch of slats hanging next to it that also had bits of the game on it, and then the back screen also. It was not like a convincing, this is what VR looks like thing.
I don't think anyone will solve the difficulty of showing VR on stage.
Totally. Skyrim VR.
God damn it.
Which I'm I laughed really loud when that came out because Mike Diver, Waypoint's own Mike Diver, shout outs to Mike Diver, wrote a piece today that was called Skyrim for the Switch Looks Like a Waste of Time, in which he makes a case that maybe we don't need Skyrim on every platform. Maybe we've all played Skyrim at this point. And it's good. I like Skyrim.
No one's saying Skyrim's bad.
No one's saying Skyrim's bad. Maybe we should. I'm not even saying that Skyrim VR is going to be bad. I get
but it's like Skyrim is now in this like video game purgatory.
Yes.
Where it's not even now in its like in residence in Vegas anymore. It is like now touring like local regional casinos and like senior centers. Like that is what Skyrim is doing.
Well, and so
next year it's going to be like this year on Tiger Electronics Skyrim.
Let me make an actual case about why Skyrim shouldn't be in VR. And this is maybe not an actual case, but let me attempt to put something together here, which is that what I see when I see Skyrim and Fallout and other big games having VR modes is, hey, we've built this game already. People like this game or have feelings about this game in the case of Fallout 4. Lots of people like that game. I like that game more than most.
Yeah.
What if VR? What if we already built all the content and we just figure out how to put it into VR?
That's not how you build good VR.
It's not games. And so, case in point with Skyrim, one of the earliest things I saw from people who were experimenting in VR was someone who put Skyrim into an Oculus Rift dev kit.
Right, like you can play Skyrim VR and have been able to play Skyrim VR for a while.
The response to that has always been like, it doesn't work. The scale is way wrong.
Sure.
That mountain looks tiny because making something look big on a screen is different than making it look big in VR.
Yes.
You really need to actually commit to scale in VR in a way that you don't need to do with a 2D image.
Doing that, but
maybe if they are, then that's way more work than what they suggested in this 30-second clip, right? So, like I don't know. Maybe it's okay that Skyrim doesn't come to VR. Like maybe
it's not. Yeah, it's not offensive. It's just sort
of. But it's whether you want it or not.
But also,
it's coming to VR.
It's coming to PSVR too, which is interesting. Like I have a PSVR. I'd rather hook up. It's easier for me to hook up my PSVR at home really quick than to go into the office and play the Vive that we have in the office to play Fallout.
And I presume even if this launches, well, they didn't say it was exclusive. My guess is this is also coming to PC.
But when I say I'll play it, I'll at least give it a shot. In this case, I actually mean that.
Worth for like an hour, just
to jump in and see. And maybe I will happily eat my words. Like I have no.
Yeah, maybe it's great.
Maybe it's
clearly Bethesda wants to make VR like part of their deal.
CD Nicolay in the chat says Lego Skyrim, and I don't know how we haven't gotten that yet. Jesus. And then there's some other VR things. The Inpatient, which
a prequel to Until Dawn set 60 years before that is like
it was a bad trailer.
Tell me it's Until Dawn.
Like a bad yo.
Yeah, it's like, yo.
I
loved Until Dawn.
Right, exactly.
Supermassive had a ton of games, 2 VR games.
Totally.
The Inpatient, which we don't have a good sense of what that is, but my guess it's just a scary game in VR.
Yep.
Hey, maybe stop setting scary games in mental asylums all the time. They showed another one, which I don't even know the name. Goat Squad.
Keep trying. I know
that thing with the submachine gun.
Goat Squad.
Bravo Team. Which is the most generic name of anything I've ever heard in my life.
And the trailer was, no hook other than just like...
There are lots of shades of brown, okay? There's just tan, there's khaki.
And there's guns.
And there's gun. There's gun
there's the pitch. Tan, khaki, guns. VR.
Cover.
We
need to do something that isn't a cover shooter. We need to stop treating, or not cover shooters,
there needs
shooting galleries in VR.
Exactly. Like, shooting is just like... already the go-to in video games, but even in VR it is even more excessive.
2 other ones: Star Child, a game whose name I remember,
but don't know much. The trailer does not convey very much
big
about
robot
what it is.
protected somebody. It was
there was a robot
platformer. Yep. Mm-hmm. Didn't leave a big mark. And then Moss, which was about the little mouse who I will protect. Yeah. I will protect that mouse with my life.
I thought it was a mouse guard game for a minute. I was like, that's gonna be good.
That would have been really good.
Yeah.
Oh, but it looked really cool. There, again, action platformer looking thing. Where you're
seemed like a lot of environmental interaction.
Yes.
Like, I actually wondered if you actually
even control that mouse at all.
I got the sense that you didn't, and that you're just fucking with the environment to try and help. It. Sort of like a Mario Galaxy, where like when you play the second player, where you're just like sort of helping out. Mm-hmm. But something a little beyond that.
Hang on, I don't want this to vanish like tears in the rain. So I had this amazing idea.
Yep.
Watching that though.
Moss?
Like, because I was thinking mouse guard, mice.
Yeah.
The Great Mouse Detective, Frogwares, the Great Mouse Detective. Think about that.
Oh, that'd be good.
The
Sherlock games. That would be good.
I'm so into that.
Also, I don't want to get lost in Tears in the Rain. This note comes in from Dixivd in the chat, who says, "Did you see the third Supermassive game, Hidden Agenda?
Yes.
Like Until Dawn, but for up to 5 players on phones with different info each. From the pre-show, cop/detective murder investigation narrative game, not VR. Why wasn't that part of this fucking show?
So I was just scrolling through things while we were in between shooting things, and I was like, what is this game? And the way they pitched it in the trailer...
Is that on the floor?
I don't know. I'm
hoping
to find out.
Yeah.
But the way they're pitching was like, Until Dawn, Telltale's built this into their games now, where people can be in a theater together, a large group of people can be playing an episode of their game, and like they can all vote on what the decision is going to be. But these are like very like binary, like X, Y, A, B choices. And they said that people were doing this with Until Dawn. Like people were streaming the game and then voting on like the options. And they said, what if we built a game around that and then enhanced it with like misinformation and your role playing, and you have like different like cards you can play. And its concept sounds fucking awesome.
Yeah,
and like
I want to do that. Like it is 12:44. To me, it's 3:44. I would play that right now.
Yes,
it'd be great.
So I hope that's on the show floor because I would love that.
Me too.
That's a really to acknowledge like the advent of streaming and participation, and then designing a game around that is not like this gimmicky shit where it's like, you can make a zombie spawn in the stream that you're watching. Like, this is like looking at audience participation
in a different way.
Totally. And so like I hope that's good because it sounds fascinating.
Also, apparently in the pre-show, Super Hot VR is coming to PSVR.
And that Super Hot VR is
I haven't played it yet.
Is real good. It is real good.
We're done with VR. Moving off of VR and moving back into the real reality, real history. The God of War.
Yeah.
From the past when there were still the gods.
They went away.
From the past when the dads were sad and angry.
Not anymore.
Like now, when everyone's happy and good, and all the dads are good dads. I didn't like this trailer.
Especially relative to last
year's. I've never been a big God of War fan, and I
am.
But last year's trailer was like, all right, I'm really glad they're trying.
It set a really interesting tone,
right? Which was, for people who maybe don't remember it or haven't watched it closely, it was Kratos in a cabin with his son, and they go off to fucking hunt a deer, and then his son doesn't want to like shoot the arrow, and then there's some like you have to be a warrior, and then a troll or something attacks. And you got a little taste of combat, and it was this like long moment, this long.
They had like the
breath of a demo.
Yeah, it felt like God of War, but like aiming for something a little different, grander, like deeper.
Right.
But also without like, also realizing like, yo, it's still God of War.
Still God of War.
But in this one, I don't like the.
This was like one of those things where like this
is just like, oh, this is God of War 4.
Right. Yes. So I watched last year's trailer, and my heart like blossomed with possibility because it was like they're taking Kratos' weird hypermasculinity seriously. Like they're giving him stakes that aren't my family's already dead. It's how do I become a good family member? It's way harder to be a good dad than a vengeful dad. It's way harder. And like, give me that. And then in this, it was like, oh no, it's just God of War game. Like, oh right, I'm gonna be cutting dudes in half. And like, I guess my son will jump off my back and shoot a thing with an arrow.
I mean, seeing a world serpent is cool and all.
Is that a recurring big deal?
No. I think it's new too.
Are you dissing Yggdrasil?
Okay. Wait, isn't that a world tree? Isn't Yggdrasil a world tree?
I thought Yggdrasil was the serpent.
No, Yggdrasil's the tree.
Who's the serpent?
Don't look at me.
Hey, who knows? Does anyone know Yggdrasil?
Stop.
Where's Yggdrasil?
Jormungandr? Yeah, okay.
That's the world. Yes, thank you. Jormungandr is the actual.
Don't diss trees, says the chat.
I'm not here to diss a tree.
Yggdrasil's the tree.
Yggdrasil's the tree.
Oh, Nidhogg. Yeah, good.
Nidhogg.
Yeah,
I played Nidhogg 2 a couple weeks ago. Unrelated, real quick.
Yeah?
Nidhogg 2 was at Judges Week. That game's good.
Is the art growing on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Seeing it in motion helps a lot.
Okay.
Like, actually playing it helps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I threw a claymore at a dude.
Cool.
That's pretty God of War.
Yeah. And also that trailer, like, even if the tone didn't feel as interesting as what they were aiming for last year, even the gameplay they were showing, like, I don't know.
It was also in a week where
it was edited weirdly.
That's right, exactly. I think in a week that we've seen lots of actually surprisingly good, smartly cut trailers. Like
this was a bad trailer.
This was like not. This was like a video game trailer from a few years ago where you just get action shots piled on each other with like music that.
Like I thought was interesting about that trailer from last year was like, okay, look, we're gonna hook a lot of people by just calling it God of War,
right?
But if we can bring those people in and pivot and it's God of War, but like we're gonna try something here and like maybe come with us and see what it is. And this felt more, and maybe that's still there. Again, I always want to remain optimistic, but this trailer sold it as more like this is the God of War you all wanted.
I don't know, because I think so. My anxiety about that game is that they're not in control of their material, right? Ooh. That like it's like my concern is what is patently happening on the screen. What you can observe is that child is terrified of his father.
Oh, just like, miserable.
This is a horror story. Like this insanely violent man is like dragging you halfway across the world, and all he can do is kill.
And it's telling you
to be like him.
Yes, not like your mom who's like open-hearted or his right.
And so I'm kind of hoping that like the trailer is kind of a bait and switch. And that, like, really it's the boy's story, and it's kind of, like, about breaking away from this guy.
Yeah, well...
But it's still God of War, and Kratos is the star, so my concern, my fear, is that they're going to be like, oh, it's about learning to be a good dad. It's going to be a more redemptive Last of Us. And I'm like, there ain't no redemption to this character.
No,
like,
right. He's the god of war.
Yeah.
He ain't the god of being a decent dad.
Yeah,
like,
he has no good lessons to teach this kid.
Unless he's like...
The lesson is walking away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And he doesn't seem like he can do that.
I thought he was going to kill a serpent. He's like, I can't understand it. Yeah, I understand it, Dad. I'm going to kill it. No, Dad, be cool. Be cool.
He wants to help us. I'll help him by slicing his neck.
Yes. And that's the other thing. It's just like, I mean, to go to the phrase that you just used, like, you're not sure that they're in control of their material. I felt that way about Last of Us years ago. And I don't want to get into deep spoilers about that game, but I left that game not thinking that they delivered the message that they intended to. Mm-hmm. And then, about a week later, because I was in grad school, I traded that game in. And when I traded it in, the two women who were working at the EB Games in Canada were like, why are you trading this in already? I was like, I beat it, and I'm not going to do the multiplayer. And they're like, what'd you think? I was like, oh, man, Joel's a real asshole, huh? And they're like, I love Joel. I wish Joel was my dad. And I was like, I have got to leave immediately. I cannot have this conversation with you. He's the worst person that there is. And I don't want that to be the case with this too, which is like, to tell that story where either it's the redemptive arc and he feels like he's actually earned any sort of redemption, or it's the terror, it's like the horror story of this like scary, maybe not
has to participate in like a series of like aggressively violent acts because that's the only all he knows and the only way he can survive.
I want it to be. They need to land. That's a hard landing to stick, and we'll see. Yeah. We'll see. Speaking of hard, the hardest landing to stick, Detroit, Become Human.
Weird trailer.
Jesse Williams is in that game. The actor. In
the opening
bits, but I think he's confirmed to be in the game in some way. Activist, Black Lives Matter member or kind of advocate. And I bring that up because one of my things with Detroit Become Human had always been like, oh, this is a weird like race analogy that I'm not sure that I trust David Cage to hit, where like are androids poor and black and brown people? Is that the story? And then seeing Jesse Williams sign on to it is like, okay, well maybe there was a conversation there that like convinced someone whose judgment I sort of trust.
Right, or maybe he wanted to be in a video game.
Or maybe... Yeah. Like, David Cage...
I'm just saying, like, we were talking about this after when we were having dinner.
Totally right.
Like, David Cage games are always, but...
Yes.
And, like, everything.
That guy has to be good at pitching people. Like, I'm certain when he spins you a story... When he spins you that story, like, this is the game I'm making...
You're only saying that because you've gotten a bunch of those pitches.
And they've been bad.
But you can imagine the scenario
where he sits down. Someone who hasn't followed games very closely, and they think like, oh yeah, I grew up playing Mario 64, and someone says like, games are art now. I'm not gonna do it a bit.
What on earth was that?
It's good. Don't worry. I'll do it tomorrow after I hear him again. After he tells me that this one, androids are.
But there's a lot that like he can be a good spinster on like he can talk the talk.
Did you know that games are art now and like we can tell stories,
and it's
branching narratives?
Because I play all his games,
and
I will play this one too, and I will probably play it and go, that was interesting, but because that's how all conversations about his games go.
People are right. I did my Werner Herzog instead of doing my David Cage. It's late. It's almost 4 a.m. for me. I had got my esoteric Europeans confused. Yeah, you're right.
I was really encouraged, like opening on a black man singing a song of like redemption and freedom. I was like, David Cage, you have no business being near these themes.
Exactly.
But you
you did it.
And then
there weren't that many black people in that trailer after that.
Well, yeah, but there were sort of like vaguely minority-coded looking people who like
they got curly hair.
Yeah, and so it was like, and they just needed to be awakened by a charismatic like. And here's the other thing.
The acting wasn't good. It was still not good acting.
It's never good.
But it doesn't mean I don't like those like David Cage.
There's the other
you confound me.
The other thing
got
I don't
me
like
again.
Fuck about the analogy he appears to be trying to make, you know, rise up androids, like rebel, is that world doesn't, like, okay, so that's a world that actually doesn't look that different from our own, right? It's supposed to be sort of evocative. It's our near future.
Near
like,
future Detroit,
this is the direction.
androids.
Okay, so you're making this metaphor about, like, race and class in a world that's actually not that removed from these exact same divisions, but now your game actually erases all of those.
Right.
Because now it's been like driven out.
Now
to the
it's humanity Android.
And exactly. And has raised vanished.
As though like this only started when we made androids in our image.
And then the reduction actually gets really gross because then it's like, but what if they're people? And I'm like, good, fucking tastic.
Finally,
what if people were people?
Right.
Yeah.
Shit. This is again like my beef with the pitch originally.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the pitch he gave us a year ago.
What happened?
As if it was novel. And not every Android story I've ever heard since we call them androids, and andra is a prefix that means man. Like it's already in there. Like the whole pretext for this entire like philosophical debate is built into the word android. It's why we call them androids and not robots, right? Like that's in calling them that, we're already saying this is going to be a story about what the difference between a human and a mechanical being is. And so like the notion that that's somehow novel, and then that like next step where in this case the kind of philosophical core of the stakes were like you could choose to be violent or pacifistic, and like all right, like you're going all in, and like I need to decide right now, or I need to be stressed about where this comes out on the
especially
other side.
in the current political context.
Yes. Like I don't want this to be the thing, and who knows? I mean, it's he's in his right to do the kind of like completely facile, both sides are bad. Maybe the enslaved androids should have been more peaceful in their resistance.
They destroyed a lot of property.
I can't believe he said that. He did say they destroyed a lot of property in that trailer. Yep. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm very curious.
You're going to see this. I remember when we were talking, like we were booking appointments, and this came up, like, oh, we could go see Detroit. There was like a long pause. And I said, Austin, you have to go see Detroit.
See, this is the thing. It's like, if somebody said, I'm still excited these games exist. Yeah. Because there's going to be weird stuff and stuff like worth dissecting.
It makes me angry and passionate, which is why I'm glad they exist. I do wish they were better than what they were.
Like somebody is like, how would you like the experience of surviving a plane crash? You're guaranteed to survive. So why don't you just like have that experience? To me, that's how it feels. Like a David Cage thing always feels this out of control.
One thing I'll say, like purely technically, there was a demo on the conference like hands-on stage at Sony, and that was running the same demo that I saw privately last year behind closed doors.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
And
the expanded version of what they showed.
Expanded version, and it looked way better. Like in terms of like how it ran or how it looked, what the characters like looked like and sounded like, that was like greatly improved. Which is like a small thing when we're talking about a game that's mostly about what the story is, how the characters are, what the themes are. But I would rather play the version of the game that looks and feels better, and so I'm glad that at least that side of it is coming together. Right. So we'll see. I'm part of what has always intrigued me about his games are the level of craft, and it's increasingly hard to surprise me with the level of craft in video games because the techniques have been hit already, and so like all you're doing now is, I'm doing this technique again, but it looks a little better or something. So we'll see. I'm hoping that's part of the thing I hope about this game is like, tell me a story in a way that is actually a little bit new. Give me a type of interaction that I've not done before.
Right.
I think about Heavy Rain, and there were a number of moments in that game where I was like, oh shit. Like, I didn't think that the game, not like I didn't think a game could do this, but I haven't played a game that's done this sort of storytelling before. Yes. And I want those moments to keep happening.
And I don't think we've seen what that would be in this game quite yet.
Totally. What they did show us in another game were mechanics I've absolutely seen in a bunch of games before. Mm-hmm. And that's in a game that I still think looks okay, which is Spider-Man. As the game's coming out, also 2018. Oh, really quick. Detroit, 2018 also.
I don't know.
Who could know? It's a mystery.
The chat could know.
The chat could know.
We'll talk about Spider-Man and then we'll...
Spider-Man. It looks like Batman.
Here's what I'll say.
It looks like Watch Dogs 1, man. That's the vibe I got.
No, but I mean in terms of the like
combat flow.
The combat flow and like the going from rafter to rafter and hitting the button to bring somebody up and getting enough hits in so that you literally hit triangle and circle together to do an not an execution, but to do like a special knockout move. Man, Watch Dogs 1, huh?
Yeah.
My problem with that demo is that when I think of what people have always wanted from a Spider-Man game is like when they think back to the the Spider-Man the movie games, which were like surprisingly good, was the way they nailed floating through a big open city. And like what I've wanted is that with the fidelity that we now can get out of games. And that was like barely present in the trailer, or even the parts that were present were so deeply scripted and like removed from like, is this actually what I'm going to do? Are these city sequences only part of an objective? Like, could I have, in the middle of that mission, just jumped off and just started like fucking around in the city?
No.
Like, you know what I mean, though, right? Like, if it was a side objective in which I'm not actually part of a main story mission, and like that's what I want from a modern Spider-Man game.
What about
exploring
QTEs?
a huge city.
QTEs? Do you want a dozen QTEs? Do you want to have to hit L1 and R1 30 times? Do you want to hit circle at the right time to make sure that you don't get knocked off the helicopter?
I will say I did like the fact that there was a heavy emphasis on him trying to save, like, otherwise. Totally. Like, especially in the modern context of how we talk about Zack Snyder, a lot of comic movies. The Marvel movies have done this too, which is like large scale destruction without any sort of sense of the consequences. Like this trailer made a very specific intent to like show Spider-Man always trying to take advantage of collateral damage of his own interactions and choices, which I thought was cool. Like, and it wasn't just once; it was like over and over was him trying to make that sort of effort, and that I appreciate it, even if it happened constantly in quick time.
Yeah, totally. I'm very. I like that Miles Morales showed up at the end of that trailer.
Yeah,
or as like a little sting.
I don't know what that means. Like,
we'll see. I have theories, but I want them to interact.
It would be weird for them to make that the stinger of their press conference if that wasn't going to be like an essential component to the storytelling of that game.
Exactly. So we'll see. Any other Spider-Man thoughts? I don't like the suit. I don't like it. It has like the weird silver bits. I don't like the weird silver bits.
It's kind of like a weird hand stuff.
I don't like he threw a web mine that like grabbed the guy and pulled him in.
Yeah.
I mean, that part's very wild.
You're kind of have to get over that because like they're gonna have to come up with ways for you to interact from a distance.
That it also felt very Batman to me. That's the bit where I was like, oh, I don't want gadgets. Like, I want to feel. Not that Spider-Man isn't an inventor. I know who Peter Parker is. Internet. I know he built the web slingers. I didn't wake up yesterday. I live in Queens. I know Spider-Man. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Which neighborhood do you think he's talking about?
You actually know him.
Yeah, we hang out sometimes. Yeah.
He's on the street corner taking photos of people.
That's my photo sound tonight.
What was the bokoblin noise?
We can't talk about that yet. That's a recording that goes up tomorrow. I can't tell you my bokoblin noise.
It's under embargo.
It's under embargo, like Claymore. Oh, fuck. What else? Let's just hit a few more things, because there was stuff that was not at the show, but did either get announced at the pre-show or was at hands-on beforehand. Undertale's coming to Vita? Is that what I'm reading? No, PS4 and Vita.
PS4 and Vita?
Yeah.
That's great.
That's great. Good for Toby Fox. Good for that game. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is September 19th. There's a story demo available now. I don't know what that demo is. Is that like...
It's probably like half an hour of
Are there fights?
I don't know.
Or is it just like, here's some
trailer. Here's some mediocre cutscenes and Chun-Li talking to...
That wasn't great.
Thanos.
Yep, you got those names right.
Thanks.
Good job. Destiny 2 trailer. It looked like a super cut of the Destiny 2 stuff.
Yeah,
that we saw
I'm surprised there wasn't
a lot more of the villain.
Was there?
Yes, there was a lot more characterization of the villain, but...
Okay. Ghoul? Gal?
Sure.
Moss?
Gall.
Golly Gall. Like, okay.
France Gall. Yeah.
But also look at...
There's like, it felt a little bit like the thing we expected, which is like, buy this on PS4. That's where all the good stuff is. The strike is here.
Yep.
You're going to need to replay the strikes a bunch. Get the one that has the extra strike.
Get this till the PC version comes out.
Yeah.
Also, they announced the date for that.
Did they? When is it?
Late October.
What's the distance?
September 7th and then October 24th?
That's the worst. That's so far.
Because you're going to get through all
I'm going to beat the game.
Content.
I'm going to beat the game.
Yeah.
I'll play that game twice,
or like worst case scenario, you wait for you like start to build up a character in the PC version and wait for the expansion, and like that's when you go whole.
That's a good call. Good call. Stuff we touched from the pre-show.
At Sony.
Yeah, what was that VR thing that was not like Hot Wheels? Electric.
Tiny Tracks?
Tiny Tracks. VR game in which you did like slot car racing, basically.
Yeah, Mike Diver actually wrote
a piece about it. It's called Tiny Tracks. Really, really cool.
If you watch the trailer, you're going to go, I don't get it.
I don't get it. These guys.
Come on. It is one of those games that in VR, the scale is incredibly important.
Mm-hmm.
The way they put certain parts of the slot car track, like, literally in your eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like, it's
pops.
It's neat. It pops in a way that you want a VR game to pop.
Other stuff.
I played was it Mecha? No, what's the
Matter Blast. It's by Housemarque. Housemarque Matter.
It's not Outland 2. Although I spent most of the demo telling this Sony Computer Entertainment employee, I was like, do you work for Housemarque? And he's like, no. I said, do you work with Housemarque? He's like, yes. And I just spent most of the time saying, like, I love Outland. Could you make Outland 2?
Matterfall.
Matterfall.
It looked cool. It was like a 2D action, side-scrolly, like, high-score game, right? Like, level-based.
Yeah, a lot of, like, really interesting, like, jumping, dodging, like...
building platform, or, like, turning things that from what's the word I'm looking for? Non-material, immaterial.
Yeah, like really actual. Frenetic. Like there's a little bit of bullet hell to it. Right. Like a lot of dodging. It was, even though I spent like 20 minutes with it, like the amount of mechanics were hard to wrap my head around. But Housemarque almost universally nails their game.
How was the feel? Because those games often feel good.
Yes, it's very snappy, and the only reason that I was bummed was like if I had another half hour with this, I feel like I would be doing
right.
I just couldn't.
Totally.
I didn't have the time.
You know what was nice about that? This is not a disc. This doesn't sound like a disc to Matterfall. There were chairs. We could sit down.
Oh yeah, there were chairs.
There were no chairs at that event until the actual theater part. So we like walked around in circles for like an hour and a half.
We had time to kill.
We had lots of time.
And there wasn't like a whole lot to play there.
No, and then we like sat down and I'm like, oh, this feels good. I'll watch you play this game. I'll get a little too tired. I'm not gonna. I shouldn't nap here. But
I watched you play a crappy demo of Far Cry 5, which is not to say Far Cry 5 is crappy.
That demo was not a great demo. It was just
demo.
We'll talk more about Far Cry 5 tomorrow because there's a Ubisoft embargo. We went to a Ubisoft event and played more.
Where there was an actual Far Cry 5. This was like literally just an outpost. Where
it was like one outpost.
Hey, go in a water tower and we shoot guys with a crappy frame rate.
I bet that the frame rate wasn't great, but literally. But also the thing was like I watched 4 people just do this. Now I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
Whoops.
Cool.
I'm trying to think anything else at that event.
Dissidia was there. I didn't get a chance to play that.
Yeah. Ni no Kuni was there.
I played that Ni no Kuni demo, Ni no Kuni 2. I played that back in Judges Week.
Yeah.
That game's really colorful. It's really bright. Mm-hmm. The characterization is really warm. I'm really excited for y'all to check that out because I think you and Rob and Danica are going to the Capcom booth at Bandai Namco. Bandai Namco. Later this week to check that out. It's just like it's a different sort of game than the first game. It's like it's not a direct
the last game was turn based. This is like more
action-y. There's like weird stuff where you're using. There's almost a Pikmin element to it where you have like a little real time strategy, little characters following you around, and they like gather up energy and they can give you boosts and buffs and stuff. It's really pretty. It's really again like there's a cool Sky Pirate base I went to like. I'm not gonna have time to play through Ni no Kuni 2. What I've already touched of it feels like really unique and often we play games that are really like grim and it was just nice to play something bright and like shining in that way.
Hey, you know what was not at the Sony press conference?
Yeah,
Knack 2.
It was the pre-show. They stuck it in the pre-show. They put Mark
Why'd
Cerny.
Why'd they do that?
Why are you gonna put Mark Cerny in a corner? Why are you gonna put Knack?
He built that machine for you.
Think about all the artifacts that comprise the holy body of Knack and also his brother Knack 2. There are so many artifacts.
We tried to play that game. Somehow, like it kept being
what
busy.
happened? How did we not play that?
I don't know.
Also, there Everybody Golf, which is the new name for
looks good.
Hot Shots Golf.
Looks good.
I love that name so much.
Everybody Golf.
Everybody Golf.
Everybody
Golf. Was there anything else that we touched?
I'm trying to think.
There was a claw machine with T-shirts in it. Like a big
long line.
Huge line. People gotta wear clothes. You gotta wear clothes. I don't know what
There's a lot of people who are like
PlayStation.
Shit.
People gotta wear clothes.
Greatness awaits. Shout out to John Drake, who we saw at this event.
I'm mentally walking down those aisles, and I can't think of...
There's another VR game we didn't get to try called ROM Extractor.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I didn't get a chance to play that.
But it seemed like it had shooting, so...
Yeah, Far Cry was here. Dissidia.
Yep.
Ys 8.
Yep. Then there was Ni no Kuni.
Ni no Kuni. Ace Combat 7, which I did not get to play.
It was actually Ace Combat 7, not
the VR thing. I played the VR Ace Combat 7 thing, and that was VR, you know?
At the end, there were some broken kiosks.
Right. What I did tell you about is the word Strange Reel, which is the name of the alternate universe in which most Ace Combat games take place. Do you know about this?
Wait, what? No.
Yeah, you'll enjoy this.
You will enjoy this. It's basically like, it's Earth, sort of, except, I'll just read this from the wiki. Strange Reel is an almost identical to our real universe, but its variation of Earth features entirely different land masses and historical events. I really love almost identical, entirely different.
Also, doesn't Ace Combat, wasn't it revealed that Ace Combat takes place in the same universe as Dig Dug and Galaga? Isn't?
Yeah.
Right? I thought that was a thing, right?
Yeah. Composition is widely assumed but not fully confirmed that Strange Reel is nearly identical to our real universe. Capital U there, and a link out in this wiki. A large expanding universe made up of mostly dark energy and dark matter. The regular Wikipedia entry for a universe. What is confirmed, is all bolded, is that Strange Reel's Milky Way galaxy is the same as ours. Many constellations are present, such as Orion and Crux. Good. There's different continents. It's the whole thing. It's really cool. I actually really like the Strange Reel as a location. It's
a great... I just love the term.
It's a great term. And it speaks to the thing, which is yes, this game has MIGs in it, but also is kind of weirdly anime. Those games have really cool stories. You should play these games.
Well, now I think I have to.
You really should.
I have to learn the lore of Strong Rail.
Okay. Strong Rail is really good. I don't know what's happening in our chat anymore. I just peeked in it, and someone said, Dig Dug is Skyrim.
People are just... They're trying to figure out the mythology.
Is Dig Dug an Ace Combat? I'll type into Google.
Is it Dig Dug? Is it Galaga?
Yeah. This giant bomb thread says it's official. Ace Combat 3 and Galaga are prequels to Dig Dug. What?
Good.
Apparently, this is from a NeoGaf thread. Welcome to Waypoint After Dark. We're just on the internet now. Apparently, as part of the Galaga 30th anniversary, Namco has revealed what we knew all along. Mr. Driller / Dig Dug and the good folks from Ace Combat 3 are all actually in the same timeline and a part of the organization, the United Galactic Space Force.
Yes, that's what I was trying to think of.
Yes, that's right. Visit the site and learn the wonders that in 2399, quote, a young boy with the code name of Mr. Driller sets out to solve the mystery of the large appearance of blocks that occurred on a planet in the United Galactic Space Federation, or that in 2238 or 2382, on a certain planet, Hori Taizo, Dig Dug sets out to solve the problem of a large outsurge of monsters. But wait, that's not all. 2659, Starblade Blue Planet, the last stage of the war, the final remnants of the UMIS reform and launch an attack on Earth. Operation Blue Planet begins. But wait, there's more. This is not the end. It's only the beginning of the joy. The official Twitter tells us the wondrous news of future updates and announcements are planned. My goodness. This is a whole thing. I didn't know. You
didn't know this?
I didn't know this.
It's the best.
I didn't know this. There's lots of pictures in this thread of people staring at the screen. I'm staring at the screen.
We gotta stop.
We actually can't because we have all the half of this podcast to do.
Do we have to do it tonight?
Yes, let's do it. Let's knock it out. Microsoft.
Yep.
Okay, actually, let's take a quick break. But, not for real. We'll be right back because we're going to cut this into 2 videos on YouTube.
Okay.
We're not going to go away. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this. Ready?
Can you do another intro?